In recent years, India has been seen as one of Washington's most valuable partners in Asia, but the ground is shifting quickly. The trade dispute with the United States has opened deeper cracks in their relationship, and now New Delhi seems to be looking more seriously toward Moscow and Beijing for long-term partnerships. What once looked like an unbreakable bond between the world's largest democracy and the oldest democracy is now under visible strain, with global powers closely watching India's next moves. The latest escalation came when Washington announced a sharp rise in tariffs on Indian goods, a move that has angered New Delhi and unsettled its export markets. According to Reuters, the new tariffs have doubled to nearly 50% on products ranging from clothing and footwear to jewelry and chemicals. While American officials frame this as a response to India's continued energy dealings with Russia, Indian leaders see it as unfair pressure that disregards their own national interests. For India, this is not just an economic quarrel. It is about sovereignty in foreign policy. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government has repeatedly said that energy security for its 1.4 billion people cannot be compromised, and that Russia remains a vital supplier of affordable oil. The Hindu quoted a senior diplomat who emphasized that India cannot be dictated to on where it should by its energy. This clear stand has put India at odds with Washington, but has strengthened its understanding with Moscow. At the same time, China is quietly making moves to draw India closer into its economic orbit. Beijing has continued to be India's largest trading partner, with bilateral trade crossing $136 billion in 2023, according to India's Ministry of Commerce. Despite border disputes and strategic mistrust, both nations have kept their economic channels open. Some Indian analysts now argue that if Washington keeps tightening trade pressure, New Delhi may find itself more willing to cooperate with Beijing in regional projects, including those tied to BRICS and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, SCO. The U.S. tariffs are hitting Indian exporters hard. The Times of India reported that textile and handicraft industries in Gujarat, Rajasthan, and Uttar Pradesh are already bracing for cancellations of orders. These industries are labor-intensive, and experts fear that hundreds of thousands of jobs could be lost if the U.S. market shuts its doors. But at the same time, India is exploring new markets in Russia, Central Asia, and Africa to reduce its reliance on Western buyers. Economists point out that while the Indian rupee has weakened following the tariff announcement, this might help exporters in non-U.S. markets. However, inflation at home could rise, particularly in food and energy, which would pressure households. Business Standard noted that Indian companies are already diversifying supply chains to Russia and China, where payment mechanisms outside the U.S. dollar are being tested. This shows India's gradual move toward an alternative financial structure less dependent on the West. The United States insists that India's purchase of Russian oil indirectly supports Moscow's war effort in Ukraine. White House officials told Bloomberg that New Delhi must align with the rules of the global order if it seeks relief from tariffs. But Indian ministers counter by pointing out the double standards, highlighting that European countries continue importing Russian gas while India is being singled out. Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar has repeatedly said India will buy oil wherever it benefits us, making it clear that strategic autonomy remains at the center of its policy. This dispute also reveals a larger realignment in global politics. While Washington seeks to strengthen a bloc against Russia and China, India is signaling that it does not wish to become a junior partner in that effort. Instead, it is trying to balance ties with all sides while leaning more on its long-standing relations with Moscow. Analysts from the Financial Times argue that India may now see itself as better served by deepening trade with Russia and even cautiously cooperating with China on global platforms where Western pressure is absent. For India, Russia remains a reliable arms supplier and an energy lifeline, while China, despite tensions, offers vast economic opportunities. In contrast, the U.S. is increasingly seen in New Delhi as a partner willing to use economic coercion when disagreements arise. This perception could push India to put more trust in Eurasian institutions and projects such as BRICS Plus.